Hi everyone, my name is Shelley. Welcome to today's Yin class. And today's sequence will be primarily focused on the lower body and the hips. So great for anyone who's quite active or runners, cyclists. So working mostly into the legs and the hips. I do have a few props, so if you have anything around the house, if you've got a bolster, great. Otherwise, some nice chunky pillows, or even just a blanket that you can roll up to a nice thickness if you don't have any blocks or books. And try to rug up if it's chilly where you are, like it is here. I have my nice fluffy socks on and this little walking blanket, which I'm a little bit obsessed with at the moment. We're going to get started in pontoon. So basically a position lying back, but just with some support under the low back, the sacrum area. So you might use a block just on the lowest setting, or if you have just a blanket or a pillow that you can roll up to about this thickness, and then we'll just place it under. So we'll lie down first, and then just make yourselves comfortable. Bring the soles of the feet to the floor, lift up the hips, and then place that block just under the hips. So on that bony part, the sacrum, and just placing the hips down. This might be a comfortable place for you to rest, turning the heels out, the toes in, allowing the knees to come in towards one another. So in a sort of supported, constructive rest position. Or if you'd like to start to have that opening through the front of the hips, just walking the feet out and allowing your hips really to sink down over the block. We're going to open up the palms towards the ceiling and just readjusting wherever you need to come to a comfortable position where you can find some stillness. And then once you've found that position, see if you can start to lengthen your breath without too much control, just starting to notice how your breath is. And notice that nourishing feeling that it brings to your body. As you breathe in, filling up with air, taking that new life, that new energy all the way down to the toes, the fingertips, all the way to the extremities. And then as you exhale, really lengthening and slowing down the exhale, allowing your body really just to melt down. In Yin Yoga, we work with the deep connective tissues, the fascia connective tissue of the body. And to have access to these tissues, we need to relax the body, the muscles, everything around the bones, the joints. And then all we do is just allow gravity to help guide us into our pose. And we always want to feel supported, so we use a lot of props in Yin to make sure that we don't have any joints hanging in midair. We want to protect our joints. So we do sort of enter that vulnerable position where we're letting go completely. We're really allowing the body, the mind to let go and relax. So we want that feeling not only for comfort, but also for support, to ensure that we are doing the best for our bodies. Our Our bodies are so used to trying to protect us and taking that defensive kind of fight or flight mode. So as we drift into this state of relaxation, we try to stay mindfully aware, try to be constantly scanning over the body to notice points of tension and where you're holding on, seeing if you can let go of that little by little. And then also scanning the mind, so noticing where your mind drifts to. And just seeing if you can bring your mind back to the now, to the present, by focusing on those sensations that you feel in the body, or focusing on just finding those sensations. We'll just take one clearing breath altogether. So let's exhale to empty completely. And then inhale through the nose, fill all the way up. Open the mouth and sigh the breath out. And we'll slowly start to bring the soles of the feet back to the floor. And then just press into the heels to push the hips up just enough to pull that block out from underneath you. And then slowly lowering the hips back down onto your mat. Extending the legs out long. Just come into this little rebound, your mini Shavasana. Just for a moment here to notice what that feels like to have your hips reconnect with the earth. Do you feel a little bit more space across the front body, across your hips? Maybe you feel a little bit of tingling or warmth across your sacrum or your hips, the back of the lower spine. And we'll slowly make our way to a seat. So either turning over to one side and pushing your way up, or just coming up, however is comfortable for you. We're going to use the bolster to come into our sleeping deer. So nice little twist. Just placing the bolster lengthways, making sure that it's not too far. And if you don't have a bolster, just using a pillow or two, and maybe a block underneath the pillow just to give it a little bit more height. And then we'll bring the soles of the feet to the floor, and we'll take the knees over to the right side. So we want our legs at about 90-90. And then the bolster comes to the right hip. And we'll grow tall in the spine with an inhale. As you exhale, turn towards the bolster, walk your hands either side to lie all the way down. And you can turn your right cheek to the bolster, or you can turn your left cheek to add on that twist to the upper spine. So just allowing yourself to settle in here to your twist, allowing yourself really to sink down over your props. So whatever it is, if it's a pillow, maybe a big blanket, or a few different things all piled up together. Really feeling the support of your props beneath you. And that nice cuddly feeling with your arms either side. Start to notice where your breath has gone, if it's started to shorten as we constrict the lungs and the belly. So maybe seeing if you can really expand and use the back ribs, expand the lungs towards the back, towards the ceiling as you inhale. So that'll just help you to sink a little bit further into your twist. And while still breathing deeply. So again, just constantly scanning over the body, see if you can relax your shoulders down anymore. If you can let go of your lower belly. Really feel that left hip draw further away from you without actually moving anything, just letting go. And as your mind starts to wander, trying to bring it back to those sensations, your body, what you're feeling in this moment. So that bridge towards a meditation, trying to stay as present as we can. We just have about 1 more minute here. Can you let go and surrender any more than you already have? Can you get any closer to the earth? Can you become any heavier? Can you slow your breath just a little bit more? just turn to face towards the left, so taking the right cheek towards the bolster. And here we'll take one clearing breath all together. So empty. Inhale through the nose, fill up. Open the mouth and sigh it out. And take the palms either side of your props. And keeping the chin tucked towards the chest, just slowly pushing your way back up. Moving slowly as you unwind. Turning back towards the short edge of your mat. Take the knees up, the soles of the feet to the floor. Just leaning back on the hands. You might windshield wipe a couple of times or stay in stillness if that's more comfortable for you. And then we'll just come back to center. We'll take the knees over towards the left side this time. See what that nice 90-90, so the left foot cupping the right knee. And then the bolster towards the left hip. So again, growing tall as you inhale. And then exhale to turn to face your bolster, your pillows. Walk the hands down. And then keeping the left cheek onto your props or turning the right cheek to look towards the left. And just settling in here on this side, noticing if there's any difference between your left and right side. Most of us have two very different sides of the body. The side that we favor for our everyday activities. So it's completely normal to have a little bit more tension, or to be a little bit more open in one side. So whichever side that might be for you, just becoming aware of that. And just maybe taking in a little bit more air and awareness with your breath as you breathe into that side, breathe into those points of tension, those areas which are most in need of your attention and your breath. And as you deliver that energy there to those points, using your exhale to try to melt that away. Allow that tension just to sink down into your mat. Really tune into your body. And keep constantly scanning over. These little points of tension will always show up. Can we find them and melt them away? And just as the points of tension will always arise, our thoughts as well will often just drift by. Maybe there are some particular thoughts that stick with you, and you find that they take you away. Just becoming aware of that. And as soon as you notice that a particular thought has taken you away, just coming back, seeing if you can focus perhaps on the breath or on the body, where you are in space. So we have just one more minute here. Left cheek back onto the bolster, just looking over towards the right side. We'll take one clearing breath here all together. So empty. Inhale through the nose to fill up. Open the mouth and sigh it out. We'll take the palms back to the floor, tucking chin towards chest and just slowly walking your palms back up. Turning towards the short end of your mat, we'll just move the props off to the side and just lie all the way down for a moment in your mini shavasana, your rebound. So the point of our practice where really the magic happens, where we allow our bodies to reset. So as we work in each pose into that deep connective tissue, we're applying a slight compression, a slight stress on the tissues, a good kind of stress. And then when we release that compression, it allows the tissues to recoil, come back to their natural state, but also rehydrate. So we block and constrict tissues for a certain amount of time. And then when we come back to this neutral position, it allows that energy to reflow, allows the tissues to be rehydrated and to flush out any stuck or stagnant energy or debris. And that process, that's that little tingling feeling you can feel, or perhaps that change in temperature that you feel as well. The movement of our energy, our chi. So we'll slowly start to make our way back up to a seat once again. And then we'll use the bolster again. I'm going to prop underneath the bolster with a block. So anything that you might have to be able to come to this sort of lifted position with your props, or maybe you just stack up sort of 2 or 3 pillows. And we're going to come into saddle. So we'll come to the knees. And then you can bring the big toes together with the knees sort of out. I find that gives me a little bit more comfort because I have something under my hips. If you prefer, you can bring the knees closer together and then sit down in between your heels. So I find that this gives a little bit too much pressure on my knees for me. So I like to sit back on my heels, bring the knees slightly apart, and then with that bolster close to the sacrum, I just walk myself back and lie down. And then once I'm here, I just use my elbows to help lift my hips a little bit, tuck the tailbone under, so really drawing that pelvis, the pubic bone up towards my belly button, and then just sit the hips down again. And that just kind of releases a little bit of tension in the low back if you have any. And if you find that this is way too much, you might add in some more props underneath your bolster, or it might even be enough for you just to sit up in this position, and that might already be working into your thighs. So you might just stay there in a seated position. Otherwise, coming all the way down, having that nice opening across the chest at the same time by just opening the palms towards the ceiling. And just settling in here, really allowing yourself once again to melt down over your props. And this might be a really intense pose for you, so as long as you don't have any pinching or intense pain, see if you can just tune into those sensations that you're feeling, perhaps across the front of the thigh, through the hips. Maybe across the top of the ankles. That's totally normal too. It's not often that we point our toes in this kind of position for an extended period of time. So that might be where you're more tight, where you hold more tension. And just knowing that you can adjust your position at any time. So we try to come to stillness, but our bodies are constantly changing, constantly adapting. We're using our breath to help open and release tension, and as we do so, our bodies might ask us for a little bit less intensity. Maybe it becomes too much for you. If you feel any numbness or tingling, perhaps that's a sign that you've come a little bit too far. Or maybe your body is ready to open a little bit more. Maybe you're feeling really relaxed and open, and your breath is allowing your body to come a little bit deeper and let go a little bit more. Perhaps you take out a pillow from underneath you and you lie back a little bit further. Wherever you are, staying as mindfully aware as you can. So scanning from head to toe. Where can you let go? can just have about 1 more minute here. So keep breathing deeply. Can you slow your breath just a little bit more? We'll just take one clearing breath here all together. So empty. Inhale through the nose, fill up. Open the mouth side out. And then turning the palms down, so bringing the elbows as close to underneath the shoulders as you can. And just using your arms to help bring yourself back up. Moving really slowly, moving gently. You might bring your knees together, move the props off of the mat as you sit down onto your hips. Extending your legs out long. And then again, rolling all the way down onto your back. Mini Shavasana. So where can you feel this release? What do you feel at the back of your knees? Through your thighs, your hips, your lower back, your spine, across the chest. And through the toes, the top of the ankles, the feet, even the calves. And then we'll come back up to a seat once again. We're going to come into butterfly. So taking the soles of the feet together, allowing the knees to fall out towards the side. And then taking your props in front of you. So allowing them to rest over your feet and just stay in this nice kind of diamond shape. So try not to pull your feet in too close. And then your props might differ quite a lot throughout this pose and from day to day as well. So try not to set any expectations for yourself of where you should be here. So all we're doing is really just tipping forward from the pelvis first. So try to bring your, tip your pelvis to take your belly towards the floor. And then tuck your chin down towards your chest and just fold forward. So you might adjust here depending on where you get to. You might be really high up and just use your hands underneath your forehead, and that's fine. If it's really early in the morning for you, these forward folds can be quite intense. So just finding your position. Maybe you are all the way down onto your bolster. And if you can relax your head down onto your props, perhaps just taking your palms up towards the ceiling, really just to allow your upper body to relax down as well, your shoulders to release. Allowing that opening through the upper back and shoulders. releasing through the hips as well. So seeing if you can really allow your knees to fall out towards the side. Try to let go of any tension that you're holding. And let your body know that it's safe here. If you find that it's really uncomfortable for you through the hips, you might even add in something to support your knees. If you find that your hips are resisting and trying not to let your knees go any closer to the ground, it might be helpful to add in that prop so that your body knows, okay, it's supported. It can let go. And as I said, this position or any forward folds, the longer you spend, the more we can adapt our position. So the more your body will adjust and allow you to go deeper. So once it knows it's in that safe position where it can surrender, there are so many tissues through our back body, through the length of our spine, holding each little vertebrae together. And as each one of these releases just a tiny little bit more, it allows you to sink a little bit deeper. And the best way to sort of wake these tissues up and tell them, okay, you can let go, is to breathe into them. So as you inhale, really notice the back ribs and the side ribs expand as you bring air and energy all the way down the spine towards the tailbone to the hips. And then as you exhale, just noticing that sinking feeling, noticing your heart space. Sink a little bit further into your props or to the mat. And we just have one more minute here. And we'll just take one clearing breath all together. So notice any points, any tension that you can clear away. Empty. Inhale through the nose, fill all the way up. Bring your awareness to those points of tension. And then as you open your mouth, sigh them away. Bringing the palms back down towards your mat and keeping the chin tucked towards the chest, just using your hands to restack your spine. Sitting back up straight. Pausing here for just a moment. Noticing that sensation along the spine. And then we'll lie down just for a moment. So how do you feel here? Checking in with yourself. And really becoming curious with your answer. So often we respond, yeah, I'm good, I'm okay. And that's the end of the conversation. Try to have a really truthful conversation with yourself. How are you? Knowing that if you're not okay, that's okay. And that you are exactly where you need to be right now. And to be thankful for this time that you're taking for yourself. This time that you're giving to yourself. Dedication to self-love. All right, we'll make our way slowly back up to a seat. And we'll come into our sleeping swan. We've done our sleeping deer. So again, taking our props. So it might come just to the hands and knees. Take your bolster in front of you. And then take the palms either side of the bolster and just take the right knee behind the right wrist. So it's sort of like our pigeon pose, but just in a supported way. So coming here, if you're really high underneath that right hip, you might add in a little pillow or a block. Otherwise, if you can walk that left knee back to bring your hip closer down and that's comfortable for you, great. Just try to keep your hips square towards the front. And then if you do need that prop, knowing that it's available to you, knowing that you don't need to be pushing to your full capacity here. So we're just aiming to feel something, feeling that edge where we start to notice a stretch or some sensation through that right outer hip, through the right inner groin, or even just across the hip flexor, the front of the left hip. And then we're going to bring the bolster out in front of us, sort of off to the left, and then just walk your hands down. Feel that support of your prop underneath your belly. So lying all the way down, we'll look over towards the right side. So really just allowing yourself to sink down here. Letting go of the toes, the feet, the calves, the knees. The hips and the pelvis, the lower belly, and the chest, allowing the shoulders to sink down. And then relaxing along the spine, all the way up the back of the neck, over the crown of the head, and through the facial expression, the third eye point between the eyebrows, and even the jaw and the tongue. And we just have one more minute here on this side. So again, just noticing if you feel any tingling or numbness, perhaps you need to pull back a little bit, so bring your chest a little bit higher. Just release your right leg slightly. Perhaps you can come a little bit further down if you're still quite high, or maybe you can lower the height of the block under your right hip. And we'll take one clearing breath altogether. So as you inhale here through the nose, fill up and really focus on that right outer hip. Fill all the way up to the top of the breath, and then open the mouth and sigh it out. And bring the palms back either side of the bolster, taking some weight into the palms as you press your way back up. Just removing that prop from underneath your right hip and just rolling over onto that right hip. And then just bringing your legs out in front of you. You might just lean back on your palms for this little mini rebound between each side. And then coming over to the other side. So we'll come back onto hands and knees. And this time bring the left knee behind the left wrist. And then just sit up. Seeing if you can walk that right knee back to allow the left hip to come down whilst keeping the hips square. Otherwise, using a block under that left hip, or maybe your pillow or a blanket. And then bringing that bolster in nice and close, so it's close to your belly, walking your hands down. And this time we'll look over towards the left side. So we'll do the same scan of the body once again, starting from the toes, seeing if you can maybe wiggle the toes to let go. As you come into stillness, allow the tension from your feet to drift away. And then working up your calves, towards your knees, the thighs. That left outer hip, the front of the right hip, your pelvis, your low belly, can you sink your chest and your shoulders any further down towards your mat, over your props? Allowing your arms to become heavy. Bringing your awareness from the tailbone all the way up the spine, towards the back of the neck, across the crown of the head, and then into your facial expression, allowing the eyebrows to separate from one another, and the lower jaw to relax, and the tongue to let go. And then what is your body asking for in this moment? Is it allowing you to come a little bit deeper or to adjust your props to a lower setting? Or is it asking you to pull back a little bit? Have you come too far? And just staying for one more minute here. Take one clearing breath all together. Inhale through the nose to fill up. Open the mouth and sigh it out. Taking the palms once again, either side of your props. Just shifting your weight back up, rolling over onto that left hip. And then just removing your props, taking your legs out in front of you. Roll all the way onto our backs for our final Shavasana. So allowing the feet to fall out towards the side, the palms up towards the ceiling. Finding that state of relaxation that you've been building throughout your practice. You've been training your mind to come back to the present, focusing on the breath, and just training your body to let go and to come into that true state of relaxation. So can you just be here in this moment, in this stillness? Stay in your Shavasana for as long as your body is asking for today. Really just try to wait for that moment when your body says, okay, I'm ready. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.